Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's CIECAcast. This is Fred Iantorno, Executive Director of CIECA. A little bit about the logistics. If you have any questions that you want to ask the panelists, please type them in the pane on your webinar panel. Today we have an exciting presentation of implementations of repair status from Enterprise Rent-A-Car and CynCast, two companies with a history of using the CIECA BMS messages to facilitate integration within the collision industry. They will be presenting the use of standardized repair status messages to create efficiencies, consistencies, and increased performance across multiple stakeholders involved in the claim settlement practice. A discussion related to rental status, repair status updates, and customer notifications will provide real-world examples of systems and processes that are currently benefiting from CIECA standards and will inform the audience of the opportunities that standardized repair status communications offer. I want to thank all of you for spending your time with us today, and to Frank and Jim for sharing their insight and expertise with all of us. I will now turn this over to our first presenter, Frank Laviola.
Thanks, Fred, for the introduction. I thought it was fitting to show this slide of a quote from our executive chairman, Andy Taylor. If you can go to the next slide, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's stuck here. Fred, can you flip that?
Frank?
Yeah, we don't have the next slide yet. I think we're waiting for Jim. There we go. So
the broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Two ways to meet their needs. And I'll tell you, having been with Enterprise for going on 21 years, we've seen this play out over and over again. Whether it was our expansion in the home city markets to serve customers that were involved in accidents, or our acquisition of the Alamo and National car rental brands, the current expansion internationally, and now in car sharing, we all do well when we listen to our customers. The same can be said of CIECA. Today, CIECA is listening to its customers by developing standards that have the potential to make e-commerce easier for all of the companies on this call today, from body shops to insurance companies, paint companies to parts suppliers. Jim and I will provide an overview of our companies and how, through CIECA standards, we can be proactive rather than reactive in today's fast-paced technology world, where customers need solutions quicker than ever. Next slide. But first, I'd like to give you an overview of Enterprise Holdings. You know, as I talk to people throughout the country, I'm a little bit surprised. We're a very big company, but people don't know about our origins and what we're all about. And today, Enterprise Holdings is the largest rental car company in North America, consisting of the Enterprise Rental Car brand, National Car Rental, and Alamo Rent-A-Car. We're a privately held company founded in St. Louis, Missouri in 1957 in the hometown of our founder, Jack Taylor. The company name Enterprise is a salute to a World War II aircraft carrier he served on, the USS Enterprise. And many folks on this call are probably unaware that we are now in 11 countries with a fleet of over 1.3 million vehicles and 74,000 employees. Also of interest that we're ranked number 15 in Forbes' list of the largest private companies in the United States. And I think that's happened because we've listened to our customers. And with all of this, I think it's important to note that Jack Taylor developed a simple but enduring business philosophy that really still guides our efforts as the largest rental car operation in the world. Take care of your customers and your employees first, and the profits will follow.
All right, this is Jim Puskas, and good morning, everybody. I'm the National Account Manager here at CynCast, and for those of you not familiar with our company, we are owned by Enterprise Holdings and operate with a mission of enabling business relationships through the use of integrated systems. We do so in a way that supports existing technology providers, initiates standards for data interchange, and is secure, private, and permission-based so that industry stakeholders can exchange data over the internet with existing systems while also maintaining control over their own data. CynCast is connected with over 14,000 shop systems for various reasons, including the updating of rental car systems, such as ARMS Auto, facilitating EFT payment, searching for parts availability, and so on, and has been able to normalize the unstructured data contained within disparate systems to accurately transfer information across these different entities. So here's a quick visual that shows CynCast's ability to transfer estimate and RO data to different companies within the industry based on program requirements or shop preference. All of the data is transferred securely and only after permission has been granted. It's important to note that through the use of the BMS, CynCast is able to limit the information contained within each message to only that which is relevant to the particular program. For example, if a shop is looking to source parts, only the data needed to perform the function, such as vehicle information and damage lines, are sent to the connected supplier. There's no need for the parts supplier to know the customer's deductible or repair labor rates to search for parts, and therefore that extra data has not been included in that particular BMS message implementation. Similarly, markups or discounts in labor rates are not sent to enterprise when providing an update on the status of the go back one. Bear with me for the delay here, everyone. All right, here's where we should be. So with an increasing number of systems in use today to collect the status of vehicle repairs and a need to communicate this information to stakeholders involved within the claims handling process, it is critical to ensure a consistent message is delivered across all systems and parties involved. This presentation will help explain the use of CIECA standards to reduce confusion and create more efficient processes by eliminating redundant data entry and data error. Well, anytime the status of an object or service exists within two or more different systems, a possibility of mismatch occurs. When these different systems are updated separately and independently, the level of disconnect is amplified. Even connected systems can demonstrate differences in their display of a single status. This might happen due to the different interpretation of a phrase in one system versus the other. For example, when a product is being manufactured for a specific event, such as a weekend swim race or a family reunion, and the product is due by Friday before the event, what exactly does that mean? Should the product be delivered on Thursday night so it's ready for a Friday morning departure with the team? Or is delivering the product on Friday morning by 10 a.m. acceptable? What about Friday by end of business? So while this is a rather exaggerated example and not quite applicable to our collision industry, it does show that the need for a standard definition of terms could be useful in a variety of situations, and CIECA has laid the groundwork to make this happen in collision repair. Well, for a more visual example, consider one system that stores the status for a repair. When all stakeholders involved with the repair process are pulling information from that single source, consistency and common understanding is achieved. Everyone is on the same page, and the level of frustration is at a minimal. And unfortunately, this single system of record utopia does not quite exist today. To bring this example a little closer to reality, you can see that as soon as a new system is introduced, the timing and transfer of data becomes critical. Certain interested parties might be using that second system as their source of information. Depending on the timing of updates, connections between the systems, and users of the information, this configuration is prone to discrepancies, misinterpretation, and error. So here we have two different systems in an organization, both of which will need to capture the same status data. After an update is applied to the first system, this information might be transferred externally to another system, perhaps that of a connected insurance company. When the insurance company receives this data, they may call the customer to provide an update. When they call the customer, the actual vehicle owner might be busy, and her husband might field that call. Then at some point later in time, the shop employee will update a second required system with status from that same repair. Depending on the length of time that has elapsed or user error, it is absolutely possible, and it's a lot more likely than you might think, for that second system to receive a different or conflicting update. As this system is also externally connected to additional endpoints, a second round of updates are sent out, which might include a text message or an email back to the vehicle owner. Now, after said vehicle owner and her husband get together later that evening, they may share their repair experiences and, in extreme and unheard of cases, become angry with one another. This might be especially true if one person expected the repairs to be completed and to have their car back at home and ready for use the next day, while the spouse didn't think that would be the case, and they actually went ahead and made arrangements accordingly. Now, unfortunately, this is a simple example of the more complex network of interconnected systems that exist today, and the risk of inaccuracies is more severe based on the costs and decisions associated with this critical information. A failure to coordinate could lead to unsatisfied customers, friction amongst suppliers, and unnecessary use of energy in resolving any issues or conflicts that arise. Go to the next slide here. Perfect. To expand upon the previous examples, here you will see a listing of some of the major systems that track repair status today. Shop employees have perhaps the most accurate information regarding the status of the repair, as they are closest to the process and will know through observation or inherent knowledge exactly where the vehicle is in the facility and when it is expected to be completed. This information is then transferred and shared in management systems, status portals, and over the phone through incoming or outgoing status update calls. We know that all of these systems are not currently connected, and that maintaining 100% compliance and manually updating all systems is not likely to happen. This practice also leads to redundancies and increased costs. With over 26 different management systems available in the market, there are various workflows and terminologies being used across the board. All of the systems can supply status information, although each has their own abilities in regards to customizing the repair process and workflow. The level of customization allowed includes user-defined status departments that can be created within each system. And while a unique workflow might be understood and comparable within the shop's four walls, problems can arise when trying to communicate standard information across external systems. CynCast and Enterprise are connected with each of the systems, and in the next few slides you'll see the hard work that has been performed to create a common understanding and context around the various implementations that exist in the market today. Well, management systems appear to be more widely used in the market than ever before, and it has been rather interesting to observe the different forms and data content that's provided by each system. Even with standardized messages and CIECA codes available to connect and transfer data between different systems, we found that most systems have their own unique methods for tracking repair status. While some systems upload CIECA codes directly, which can easily be transferred and interpreted by other CIECA-compliant systems, it is when the users begin customizing the systems that misunderstandings and disconnects begin to occur. For example, the table shown here lists a small sample of the different phrases that are being supplied by the management systems today. It's easy to see that the standard defined departments are referred to in a number of ways, the majority of which do not match the CIECA definition or code exactly and must be properly interpreted for correct understanding and common communication. Waiting for the next slide to flash up here. Perfect. The customization allowed across the management systems can definitely contribute to differentiation and potential competitive advantages for users. Although, as mentioned previously, this does create a problem with standardization in the industry. Through significant analysis and intelligence that has been built into the CynCast systems, it's now possible to create structure around the unique phrases and uses of each of these systems. So with this example, different systems have indicated that the vehicle is being painted through the use of a status term, which is refinish, through the use of a paint team assignment for team number 23, or possibly through a date for which that paint process was started. All of these different sources and methods indicate the vehicle is actually being painted, which could be represented through an electronic standard code of 4. By assigning and transmitting the proper CIECA code onto whichever systems the shops have requested, reduces any confusion or errors that might arise if the data is not properly understood on the receiving end. Through use of the final standard CIECA code, duplicate reentry and unnecessary labor needed to contact the shop for existing information is removed, allowing for a more efficient overall repair process and happier customers. So this next slide is similar to the previous one. However, all of the systems are connected using CIECA codes to transfer the information amongst all the systems. So there is a common understanding. So first here, the shop user enters a status into their management system. That status is that the repairs are complete. You can see the rental car company is updated. The second company, which is insurance, kind of hard to read behind there, is updated, and so is the shop's secondary system. That secondary system also transfers that information on to suppliers, potentially the customer, the husband and the wife. They're all happy now, no more arguments. and so on. Now, if that shop has a second system and the supplier, possibly a parts supplier, indicates that the parts are on back order, they can actually transfer that CIECA code back into the shop system. And if that shop system is connected to the rental car company, that information is then sent back accordingly. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different computers, 2 different people, and everybody's on the same page, which is kind of the ideal state. So now I'll turn the conversation and presentation back over to Frank, who will kind of talk about some of the different messages.
Thanks, Jim. The next few slides will show some examples of the current CIECA BMS messages being used today by CynCast and Enterprise to communicate status within the industry. Each group of messages represents a different category or use of information transfer within the business messaging suite, with each individual message supporting a different application within that category. Status messages are found in Chapter 9 of the BMS document, and a hybrid of versions are currently in use today. CIECA will typically update the BMS messages twice each year based on research and rework the individual category committees are conducting throughout the year. For example, some of the messages used to send status updates from the shop's management systems into Enterprise's ARMS Automotive program include definitions from the 2011 R2 specifications document. Other messages have been recently upgraded and are on more current versions. For exact technical details on the differences between each release, you'll have to defer to your technical team. The CIECA website also contains a vast amount of information on the technical aspects of all messages within the BMS suite. On this slide, you can see that the rental status update messages can be used to provide confirmation on a rental authorization, check on the status of a rental, or change rental assignments between branches. Rental billing messages are used to pay for the actual rental and are typically transmitted between the rental provider, Enterprise, and the insurance company. Moving on to the next set of status messages, Shop Services category allows for establishing a link for common repair facilities between two systems. Elements such as shop name, phone number, and address are used in the messages to assist in finding and linking the proper location. One item to consider when implementing the Shop Services messages is the final repair company ID that will be used to identify that facility moving forward. Each system typically has its own primary key for referencing a facility, but a master common ID will be needed to transmit information regarding that location in future messages. With Enterprise and CynCast, it was determined early in the development process that the CynCast ID would be used for the shop identifier in each of the subsequent messages used for sending repair data. And Enterprise is first informed of the CynCast ID through the use of the repair facility add message. The repair order services messages facilitate the sending of information related to a single repair. The repair order add message is used to send admin and summary repair data into the ARMS Automotive application, which then searches for a similar customer in an open rental ticket. When a match is found, the rental add message informs CynCast that a repair rental link has been established. After the vehicle owner is electronically identified as being in a rental, the repair delay status change and repair order close messages are used to send additional repair status updates into the ARMS Auto application. With these messages, only the rental ticket number and branch information is needed to update the Enterprise system with the correct CIECA status. Rental status can be used to inquire as to the current state of the rental and returns information related to the rental start and end dates, as well as the source branch for that rental. I think for those people on the business side, I thought I'd give an overview of ARMS Automotive. And on the collision repair side, I thought it was a good idea to show you the size of the market we're dealing with and why we have ARMS Automotive and why we rely on CynCast and CIECA for these standards. Today we have over 14,000 shops that are using our ARMS Automotive application to update Enterprise and repair and insurance companies on the vehicle repair status. The online application creates efficiencies for the collision repair shops by being able to go online at their convenience rather than at the convenience of enterprise or the insurance company when they call when the shop has multiple customers in front of them. And there can be multiple calls from different insurance companies and different employees at enterprise on a daily basis. And as I'll show you in a couple moments, we use CIECA standards to communicate with the shop management systems. We're also able to generate through this information about 9,000 reports, some of which are sent directly to the collision repair shops, or they can access the reporting based on length of rental as a proxy for cycle time online within the ARMS Automotive application. And I should stress that all of the top MSOs in the country use this reporting on a daily basis and are helping to drive down their cycle time or length of rental. And then lastly, for years, our body shop customers have been asking us to build a text or email feature into the ARMS Automotive application. The thought behind that was, with 14,000 shops going in on a daily basis, update the status of the vehicle and sending that to enterprise and to the insurance company, why couldn't they do the same thing for their end customer, the renter or the customer getting the vehicle repaired? And about 2 years ago, with the help of CynCast, we were able to do just that. And today we have over 3,200 shops signed up that can not only update vehicles that are being that have rental cars associated with them, but all of their customers through the CynCast technology. So speaking of the management system providers, because we do a lot of work with those, and today, as Jim stated, we're able to have varying levels of integration, 26 different systems. This allows shops that use those systems to take a big step out of the updating process. If a shop uses, and I'm going to stress, consistently updates, that's always a trick within the industry, we can integrate so that the double keying of the information into ARMS Auto isn't necessary. The shop simply updates the status in their management system, and that information is captured by CynCast and sent to the ARMS Auto application using the CIECA standards. Shops are being pressed to become more efficient, and this is a good example of how Enterprise, CynCast, and CIECA have listened to our customers to help them be more efficient and streamline their operations. I wanted to show you just a view of a slide that's available at armsauto.com. You can see a demo there. But this is a vehicle list of cars that a shop would have, and the rentals, and they can view all of the vehicles, as I said, by clicking that All Vehicle tab if they choose to. And what they do is the next step is they would click on the customer's name or telephone icon, and that would lead them to a vehicle detail page where they can choose a repair status. Each of these statuses has a corresponding CIECA code, so that shops using a management system and desiring the integration can simply move the vehicle into the management system, again, thus alleviating the double entry. I think today the numbers I hear are about 33% of shops have management systems, and I would think those shops are generally the busier shops. So if we as a company and as an industry can streamline this process, stop that double keying, we become more valuable to our customers. And I want to stress, and I think in speaking to folks at different management companies, the DuPonts of the world with ProfitNet, Exalta actually, with ProfitNet and Mitchell's and folks like that, we don't care how we get this information. If it comes from a management system, that's fantastic. If a shop goes into ARMS Automotive, that's fantastic. But what we as enterprise have to do is we have to provide the insurance carrier with information so that we can get an extension on that rental on behalf of that customer. So by getting this information, it helps everyone CSI by making sure that that customer is well informed that should they need to keep that car a couple more days due to a delay or other issue, that enterprise and the body shop are doing their job to make sure that we can get that done.
So just piggybacking off of Frank's last slide there, this is just a list of of some of the recommended CIECA status codes that exist today. There are available in the in the CIECA master code list, and we've actually separated them into two different categories. You got the repair delay reason codes on the left with production status codes on the right. So production status codes typically indicate, where in the facility the actual vehicle is. You'll see in paint shop or reassembly or in detail department, whereas the repair delay reason codes would be associated with a target date change. And this slide kind of shows, two different communication methods that can send out status updates to the customer or an interested stakeholder in the repair. Currently, CynCast and Enterprise are sending out these messages or are capable of sending out the messages. They are using, the CIECA status codes behind the scenes to collect that information, whether it's from the management system or the insurance company or Enterprise or whatever the case might be. And CIECA does have a new committee that's working on JSON technology. It's worth noting that they can also be used to facilitate multiple communications. And as soon as that, those messages and that specifications document and package has all been finalized, we'll move to migrate to that new JSON CIECA technology as well.
Just for the record, that definitely is not my wife or my mother calling. I don't know whose phone that is.
Maybe
I wanted to show this slide. This is a slide that Enterprise put together, and really, to me, when I look at this slide, it's a very busy slide. And it talks about how the world's becoming busy today. When I say busy, there's technology that's evolving today within the next few years, if not sooner. So at Enterprise, we have kiosks at the airport, and we use those for our renters who are frequent renters. We don't necessarily use those in body shops because body shops typically have customers that are not those frequent renters. We have mobile apps for customer engagement. We have websites to book reservations. As Jim said, we have the text and email capabilities with over 3,200 collision repair shops today. And then for the employee side, we've got tablets and mobile devices, and you're hearing about in-vehicle technologies that are coming with the car sharing thing. And I think with CIECA, the strength that we have with CIECA is we are going to be able to integrate all of our technology. If we all jump on board, fully embrace the business management suite within CIECA to be able to react quicker within our industry rather than being behind other industries. And just a couple other slides we want to leave you guys with before we answer any questions. So to stress, we're on this call. We're talking to different constituents within the industry. And I just wanted to stress a few of the organizations that we support. And we think it's important, not only through CIECA standards, and you'll see CIECAs listed here, but things like Operation Comfort. And I want to challenge folks on this call who aren't involved with places like Operation Comfort by the National Auto Body Council, WIN, CIECA, because again, I feel strongly that CIECA can help us to communicate more effectively for our constituents and frankly, at the end of the day, for that end customer. Next slide, Jim. Questions. We also wanted to leave you, I think that slide was left out, but our contact information. If you guys have any questions, you can contact Jim Puskas at CynCast, at jp@cyncast.com. As Jim said, he's a national account manager. My name's Frank Laviola. I'm the Assistant Vice President at Enterprise, working with our insurance replacement division. And I'm heavily focused on helping body shops to streamline their business, give them reporting that they can go out and use, hopefully to either improve their business or to get more DRP business if that's what they choose. My address is frank.laviola@ehi.com. And with that, Fred, we'd like to open it up to any questions.
Are there any questions? I've got a couple here. Must the system or the process use all the CIECA codes to be compliant?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Fred. It's a good question, but the answer is no. And that's what the beauty of the cloud-based CIECA mapping that we've developed is. As mentioned earlier, systems and shops, they can design their process to the best of their ability and imagination. And I'm sure there's very valid reasons that things have been designed the way they are. A lot of the systems that are tracking status, they do allow for customized departments, as we mentioned, and customized delay reasons. And we've actually seen some extreme cases where a unique department is actually created for every team, every vehicle owner, or every damaged vehicle that goes through that facility. So in any event, where a common CIECA definition does exist, it's definitely more efficient to send this code to all the connected systems instead of any free-form text-based message. This is the free-form text-based message, which is simply, require interpretation by a human end user or artificial intelligence-based program. And typically the free-form text-based messages can't trigger certain events like extensions or status updates or whatever the case might be. Now, of course, there is a fallback code for other that does exist. We try and stay away from it because, again, that requires usually additional effort on the receiving end. But whenever other is used, it is recommended to actually include that free-form text as a comment. And there is a place in the BMS message, if you are sending the CIECA code, to also include comments or notes or memos, I believe they're referred to. And that additional information is definitely valuable to the end receiving party.
Okay.
And Jim, I'd like to add to that a little bit, and just a couple real-life examples. We recently had, and I'm going to say a smaller body shop management system who wanted to do an integration with us, and we really steered them towards CIECA codes, because I think what happens is if people aren't using anything that's standardized, it does take more time, which means it does take more resources, and that's for both sides. So one of the things Enterprise does, we do with insurance companies over 300 integrations a year, and whenever possible, the first thing we talk to these companies about is the CIECA standards. If we can do CIECA codes with this, we are all busy. I guarantee you there's everybody on this call, from IT folks to business folks, know that if they want to get something done with their IT department, there's going to be a waiting period, if you will. There's going to be a prioritization period. And through the CIECA standards, it sure cuts down on that wait time, and we're able to react quicker on behalf of our customers.
Okay. I've got a couple more in here, so let's see if I can. How do we overcome all of the different platforms that are required for us to utilize in today's environment with so many different implementation methodologies? It would be great to have the BMS as a standard, but realistically, it is difficult to get everyone on that same page. What's the pricing? What's the pricing for repair shop for CIECA integration? How can we have a demo? Well, let me just. That was actually two questions, and let me see if I can. How can we get everyone on the same page? Maybe Frank, you've got a question there, or maybe you want to take that question.
Sure.
I can follow it up with for you too. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I want to stress to people that I am more on the business side, but I sit on a lot of our IT meetings that we have, our conference calls we have with different vendors and partners and things out there. And I would say I believe that the goal is that we have this BMS integration, because I think it takes away a lot of the concerns that we have about data privacy and things like that, because we can send specific messages. And with that said, I think no matter which organization you work for, if you are a CIECA member, we hope you become a CIECA member if you're not already a CIECA member. But if you can get first conversation you have with that partner, that vendor, is that you want to do this integration through CIECA codes, and you inform them a little bit about what that's all about. And that's where we've had some luck, again, with some of the management systems, because it's an easier communication. I tend to, when I explain CIECA to folks who don't know, I tend to say it's just a plug and play. It's an easier plug-in rather than rebuilding everything. And so I think down the road, those folks who don't want to integrate or use BMS and CIECA standards, I think we have to stress to them that there's a long-term benefit both from a cost standpoint and for an industry standpoint, because now they're able to integrate with multiple people rather than doing a lot of one-offs. And Fred, I'll let you follow up on that.
No, that was very good, Frank. The reality is you have to demand. I mean, a number of us, or a number of you in the industry, are purchasing systems or leasing systems from other information providers, where they be some of the 26 that Frank and Jim had mentioned, or others. But what you do need to do is insist that the interface, the connections, the electronic commerce connections of that software be CIECA compliant and meet the CIECA standards, and not just the CIECA standards, but the CIECA standards and codes. All right, we saw the example here. So it really becomes one of, it's up to the buyer to demand it, all right, so that you can get the efficiencies that, in fact, you should be paying for. That's what the system is. You'll get parts of the efficiencies in the product itself, but being able to use it in the broader industry, all right, and that's an important thing. And so, you know, and I think I hope that answers your question. The other one, which is, what is the pricing for a repair shop for the CIECA implementation? And the reality is, if you're buying, it should be at no cost to you, if you will, other than the product you're using. But you need to demand it from whoever is providing you with your systems. And the reality is, it'll help them, but it'll help you. Frank used the word plug and play, and you know, I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, that things become more plug and play when you have a set of standards than you ever have before. And it's, you know, we see it in our everyday life that you know, a standard is important, whether it be for a physical part or for a piece of software and the data that communicates back and forth. Let's see here. The one last thing is, you know, you mentioned, Frank, I believe that 33% of repair facilities have management systems, and it seems like a low number. However, I think there's a corollary to that. How much business do those 33% that have management systems actually generate in terms of the industry itself?
I think that's a great question, Fred, and I have not quantified what percent, but my, you know, would tell us that the shops that use management systems are using it because they have DRP relationships, because they're bigger shops that have to manage the process, and I think that's why they're using it. And, you know, I know a good friend of mine, Mike Anderson, with Collision Advice, I'd, you know, be more than happy to put something out there. I think Mike has some pretty good data, and I'm sure, you know, when you talk to the Profit Nets and Mitchells and Nexius and those folks, I think we can get a better number. But I've got to think there's a significant amount of volume compared to those that don't have management systems. Yeah. But I apologize, I do not have at this time
that's okay, Frank. Yeah, that's okay, Frank. But see, because I've been hearing that 33% does around a little over 80% of the repairs. Okay, so
I would not doubt that, Fred.
You know, so it's, you know, even though it's in quotes a low number as a percentage, it kind of says that those that have management systems are doing a whole lot more business than those that don't.
Right.
You know, so any other questions?
Changing.
Yeah.
And I think for collision repair shops, some of those folks need to probably look at this pretty hard to make sure that they're competing aggressively.
Okay. Not here.
One of the things you mentioned earlier also was that the shops that that need to be consistently updating their management system, which I think was a key phrase you mentioned. But it's also, I think, important to note that, for shops without management systems, maybe it's that 70% of the shops that are only doing 20% of the business. But regardless, ARMS has the facility, and there are other systems as well out there that shops can use to track the status of the repair if they don't have access to that in their management system, or if they're not even doing it in their management system. And so long as all these systems, support the CIECA codes, which Enterprise definitely does, so when they capture the status of the repair from the facility, not through the management system, it's also possible to use that information and map to the CIECA code and send that to other external connections as well.
Okay. Looks like we've run out of questions, but I want to thank you, Jim and Frank, and thank you, the audience, for participating. Within 48 hours, there will be a copy of today's slides in PDF format and a recording of the entire session available on the CIECA website. Just follow the link that will be on the home page. Also, just a quick announcement, on November 12th, we will be concluding our 2013 events with a CIECAst, which will summarize the changes and additions of the 2013 R2 BMS release. Again, thank you for participating and listening. Thank you to our presenters, and have a great day. Bye now.